What could it be that made me go from fast superbikes to a comfortable bobber? My riding style has always been something like this. High speed, high adrenaline, I love it. But I discovered a new bike lifestyle that changed my mind on so many things. What are these things? Well, let's hop on for a ride and find out. So many good reasons, guys, to own a bike like this. I'll give you a few examples. I have an RS4, a Panigale before, an M1000RR, and every time I had the opportunity to go somewhere that I could beat the traffic, I could be there faster, I couldn't, because I was thinking I have motorcycles, but I don't have motorcycles. Meaning that if I would take my RS4, it's too loud. Every time I've been through here with the RS4, everybody's looking at me like I'm a crazy person. And they're right about that. If I take my Panigale before, it's too hot, it's uncomfortable. If I take the M1000RR, yeah, it's better, more comfortable, but in general, you're still in a super sport. It's just not the best. It's not ideal. Those bikes are meant to race, and that's why I only ride them on a Sunday on the canyons. That's why I always ride fast with them, because that's what they're meant for. So every time I had the opportunity to use a motorcycle for something to go somewhere, it was miserable, so I never took it. So I have motorcycles, and yet I don't have motorcycles. And then I felt, okay, that is ridiculous. I need to be able to have a motorcycle that I can hop on and go. And I was thinking a few options. What would that motorcycle be? And I was leaning towards an MV Agusta, either a Brutale 1000RR or a Ross. But then, after a lot of thought, and also the fact that I test rode this bobber, I felt that this is the bike for what I'm looking for. One reason is cost. Okay, having a Ross, having a $40,000 motorcycle, and that also applies to the older motorcycles that I have. Having an expensive motorcycle that you need to go somewhere, park it, and go, it creates anxiety. So I would never feel comfortable to go park my bike somewhere here and just, go across the street for coffee, knowing that my motorcycle, my $40,000 motorcycle, is parked in the street. It always gives me stress, whether if someone's going to steal it or if someone's just going to try to park and knock it over. So with the bobber, I have less stress and less fear for that. For one, it's not as expensive. I don't want to say it's not expensive, because out the door it is a $16,000 bike. It's not cheap. You can't say that $16,000 for a bike is cheap, but it's just not $40,000. So, and also the fact that you can get this for used for much less, that gives me less anxiety of, let's say, theft. I can call my insurance and take care of it. I'm not gonna have the same anxiety of a more expensive bike. And also the fact that if someone knocks over my bike, I'd rather have the bobber being knocked over than have the Panigale before. The cost for fairings compared to this cannot be compared. I mean, this goes down, worst case scenario, you fix the gas tank, maybe you scrape it, you paint it, you're back in business. So it gives me much less stress. Also, comfort. No bike will ever be as comfortable as this when it comes to comparing a bobber and a naked bike or a super sport bike. Yes, there are other comfortable bikes out there, larger bikes, which are not in my preference and what I want them for. This is very low. low center of gravity, which is also something very important for me because this is a very heavy bike. This is over 500 pounds, which technically also makes it more difficult to steal. You know, it's a little better deterrent for theft compared to a 400 pound motorcycle. Now in reality, weight doesn't matter. If someone wants to steal something 600 pounds, even more than that, they're gonna steal it. But it's so low that it's just so comfortable to ride around. Which brings me to my next point of comfort, and that is style and gear. Meaning that, you know, if I want to ride this bike, I can just wear a half helmet, my sunglasses, my jacket, and go. Now with the Super Sport, depending on what I'm using for, you know, you're not gonna wear a half helmet. I mean, that looks a little bit ridiculous, riding Panigale before and wearing a half helmet. So with this bike, I have this opportunity. Now at this point, I'm not wearing a half helmet because I'm vlogging, so I need my actual helmet. But in any other case, I use my half helmet and sunglasses for this motorcycle. Now I know half helmets cannot be compared to full helmets when it comes to safety. Yes, I agree. That's a personal choice of risk that you can take. But when I just want to grab my motorcycle to go a couple miles further away from my house, it's just so much more simpler to snap that half helmet on, wear your sunglasses, and go. Sometimes I know even with a t-shirt. Again, I'm not saying that's the proper thing to do. You know, technically, even if you're going to ride a mile away from your house, not more than 40 miles an hour, you should normally be in full race gear. That's the proper thing to do. But let's face it, you cannot always do that. So, being a personal choice, I wanted to be able to carry that style of the half helmet, make it easier for me to be able to get dressed for a ride. If I need to grab my motorcycle real quick and head somewhere, I can just do it. So that style is very well carried with a motorcycle like a Bobber, or similar style like Harleys, Indians, or Triumph Bobber. And speaking of costs, the insurance for this motorcycle is so low, it is unbelievable. I mean, I know insurance rates vary based on age, location, and different variables, but guys, I think I'm paying for full coverage like $30 a month for this bike. No comparison to what I pay to my other bikes, where they reach the $40,000 mark each. So depending how you're going to insure them and at what cost. But yeah, guys, I mean, cost wise, this is ridiculously cheap. Same applies for maintenance. So easy. You know, with my RZ4, I have to, you know, every 500 miles, if I'm going to take it for a ride, I need to check the oil. I mean, that bike consumes oil. I don't understand why. And that's a very nice Ferrari. Very popular feedback of Aprilia's of consuming too much oil. With this bike, you know, you don't have to worry about that. You know, this can go for thousands and thousands of miles. No issue. And I wanted to have a bike that I don't have to constantly worry about. Something that I can park in my garage and then hop out and go. Not keep worrying about checking everything. Even, you know, tire pressure. You know, tire pressure is something I always check with my Superbikes, because I know if I'm going to ride them, I'm going to ride aggressive, so I need to know what PSI I am. With this bike, I don't care. None of that matters. You just hop on and you go. If it's a little lower, a little higher PSI, who cares? What are you going to do with this bike? Nothing. Just chill around, and that's what you're going to do. So I wanted to be able to have a bike that I can actually utilize. For so long, I've been collecting bikes, and I felt like I had no bikes. Because what's the point of having motorcycles when you cannot use them? I don't know, at least that's my opinion. I love Superbikes. But the comfort of these bikes, like a Bobber, they're so great. So you have a traffic light, foot down, flat footing it, easy to go, lean back, whatever you want, be comfortable. You know, it's just a different world than the Super Sport. And not to mention the clutch. You know, it just gives you vibes of old school. Yeah, I love technology. I love my quick shifters on my bikes. There's a reason for it. They're meant to go fast. But with these bikes, you actually don't need quick shifters. You enjoy the ride more because you feel more involved in the ride with the clutch for every year. It just makes you a little more connected to the bike. You know, when I first started riding, I used to have these arguments about motorcycles. I had my friend tell me, which he was riding at least 10 years before I started riding. He used to tell me, you know what, you'll change your mind about motorcycles one day, because I always told him, no, I don't care. The only thing I only care is about super sport bikes. The only thing I want to do is go fast. I don't care about riding chill. I don't find the point of riding chill. I just want to be a rocket. I want to drag knee, and I want to be able to be the fastest. And I find no enjoyment in just like being on two wheels and ride for no reason. And here I am 3 years later riding super sports, dragging knees and doing all that stuff, that I find my friend being very, very right, and me changing my mind. Now, don't get me wrong, going fast is cool. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, or I'm not going to continue going fast with my super sport bikes. But if you've been to the track with your super sport, you realize that going fast at the canyons is an illusion. It's not really fast. It seems fast for the conditions because it's dangerous. But if you want to compare speeds and corner speeds, there is no comparison when it comes to riding at the track. Unfortunately, not everyone has the ability to go to the track weekly, either due to location or cost, or whatever the reason is. And a lot of people end up going faster at the canyons. But coming from a track and going back to the canyons, you realize that there's no meaning on the canyons. There's no meaning on street riding, and that's why I understand why a lot of people don't even ride on the street anymore. They're super sport bikes. Maybe they have a bike like this or something else, and just ride for a reason because they need to get somewhere, rather than just go to ride for speed or ride for fun. You know, maybe they could ride at the beach or something like that. But I find myself between two worlds right now, where I still enjoy going fast, but at the same time now I appreciate the world of two wheels and what that means to be able to connect with the machine and be alone on a motorcycle, riding on a straight line. Who cares about corner speed, and just in your own thoughts and enjoy the weather, the city, your thoughts, anything you need to do, man. Like, two wheels is like a psychologist, you know? Something happens to you, you don't feel good, you hop on the bike, go for a ride, you forget everything. And, you know, I'm not a type of person that hesitates to admit that I'm wrong. You know, I was wrong when I was telling my friend, no, I will never ride a motorcycle just to ride it. If it's not a super sport, if it's not fast, there's no reason to do it. I was wrong. I was convinced otherwise, and no one convinced me. I convinced myself. And this is why this video is not for me to convince you to get a Bobber or to get this type of motorcycle or anything, or to convince you to not ride super sports or ride slower. No, none of that. You keep doing what you want to do, just like I did what I wanted to do. It just happened that I test rode this bike and I was introduced to a different world, and I was amazed. I said, wait a minute, what is this thing? Because you don't need to go fast to enjoy two wheels. And I learned through this motorcycle that you don't need to go fast. There are other things in two wheels that you can enjoy. And the Bobber did this for me, and this is why I bought it. But this bike has power, man. Don't think it doesn't have power. Like, you can really punch it in. Look at this. It has the torque. It may not have the horsepower. You're not going to go faster than 120 miles an hour. But then again, this bike is not meant for that. You don't need to go 120 miles an hour. Especially if you're going to commute on the freeway. Max speed that I did to enjoy the ride was like 70 miles an hour. And I was still the flow of traffic with their speed, and it was just so comfortable riding, man. And I actually did it with a half helmet and sunglasses, so the entire wind was hitting my face. It was a different experience. I can't do this now because I need this helmet to motovlog, but I'm telling you, riding this bike with a half helmet and sunglasses, it's a different world. You know, this exhaust is stock, so you know, I'm going to do an exhaust on it, and there's a different feel once you hear this bike with an exhaust. There's something about the sound that connects with you, and you know, you just go one-handed and enjoy riding. And also at the same time, this has cruise control. Look at this. One button hit, cruise control. Okay guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine you just ride this in a full straight road. You don't even have to hold the handlebars. Hitting the cruise control, done. Just like that. And it's only a push of a button, much easier than what I have to do on the RS4 and then 1000RR. See, just cruise control. See, for example, let's say my friends call me, come over here, we're having coffee, and I will be wearing the helmet I'm wearing right now. I can tell you that my entire face and head is so compressed and sweaty. Like, taking off this helmet and walking into a restaurant or store is just not a good image, man. And that's why I chose to have the option of a half helmet, because you know, you can say, okay, I'm gonna commute a mile to where the store is and put my half helmet on and be more you know, presentable rather than just taking a full face helmet off, all sweaty, marks on your forehead from the pressure points. It's just not the same. And I can tell you now that I'm wearing the full face helmet that I'm not on a super sport bike going fast, because when you go fast you don't realize none of that. You don't realize the you know, how uncomfortable your riding gear is, your suit, your helmet. You don't realize all that. You're going, you know, super fast. There's no time to even notice that. You just notice it after, when you stop for a drink or something. But riding this motorcycle with my full helmet, I'm realizing how uncomfortable the full helmet is. And for that reason, you can pull it off. You can pull off a half helmet on this style of bike. You can pull off the same you know, cafe racer leather jacket with your jeans and your boots, and enjoy a nice ride. So the funny thing is that I actually get more waves from Harley riders compared to when I'm riding my Super Sport. And there's this awkwardness, because when I'm on the Bobber and I wave Super Sport bikers, there's that awkward wave of each other that, hey, you know what, I'm also a Super Sport rider. I know I'm on this bike, but you know, hey, I also have super sports. Hey Ducati rider, I have a Ducati too, but I know you don't know that because right now you're probably thinking that I'm just a bobber rider that doesn't want to wave to you because we have different bikes. When in reality, guys, none of that is true. You know, two wheels are two wheels. It doesn't matter what you ride. And it's funny because when I'm on my Ducati and I see bobber riders and I wave at them, I want to be like, hey man, I also have a bobber. Like, there's that connection between riders, and this, you know, this heat between Harley riders and super sport riders, I just never understood it. I never understood it. When I was introduced in the two-wheel world and I found out that that's the case, you know, I was riding like a couple months, and then I went out. I was all excited to start waving at riders, and I would wave at Harley riders. I was riding my RS660 at the time, and they wouldn't wave back, and I was said, wow, you know, look at that. And that's how the stereotypes start. That's how the conflict starts. You know, a new rider goes on a super sport bike, waves a Harley rider, doesn't wave back, boom. You just created a generational beef. That's how it starts. But I quickly learned that that's not the case, because I know a lot of people that are Harley riders. I've met a lot of people that are Harley riders, and that's not the case. They also own super sport bikes. That's what I'm saying. When you see a Harley rider on the road, it doesn't mean they don't own super sport bikes. Now, if you're a super sport biker and you pass the guy illegally creating hazard, or you make something dangerous, yeah, he's gonna get upset. I mean, I'm gonna get upset if a super sport biker passes me like a jerk right now. Or it doesn't matter what he's riding. He can pass him with a scooter. I'll still be upset if he's doing something illegal. So, guys, this thing has to stop. I really hope more riders communicate with each other and understand that we're all on two wheels. There's no such thing as, you know, different category of motorcycles. A motorcycle is a motorcycle. Alright guys, that was a nice chill ride. Let's head back at the garage. Back at the garage, guys, and here is my half helmet. I gotta match the style. Usually this is where I end the video by saying I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video gave you a good explanation behind the reasons of owning this bike. Unfortunately, no video will ever do justice unless you try it for yourself. Stay tuned, because next I'm going to be modding this bike to its bones. Guys, if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.